I never believed houses could remember people until the night my old house decided to remember me. It started as a simple plan, almost boring. I had moved back into my childhood home after my father passed away, a creaking two-story place tucked into a quiet American suburb where every house looked the same and every streetlight hummed like it was tired of being awake. I told myself I'd fix it up, sell it, move on. But on the first night, lying in my old bedroom with the glow of my phone lighting the ceiling, I heard a sound that didn't belong to memory or imagination, a low, hollow knock, not from the door, not from the walls, but from somewhere inside the house itself, like the house had a second chest cavity I'd never known about. I froze, counting my breaths, telling myself it was pipes, old wood settling, the lies we tell ourselves when we don't want to be afraid. The knock came again, slower this time, deliberate, and that was when I realized it wasn't random. It was waiting for me to notice. The next day I tried to stay busy, clearing out boxes, flipping through photo albums, pretending the house was just a structure and not something that watched me move from room to room. But every so often I'd feel it, like eyes on my back, like the house leaning closer to listen. By the third night, the sound returned, not a knock anymore but a whisper of movement behind the walls, a soft drag like fabric against wood. I followed it without thinking, down the hallway where my parents' bedroom used to be, past the bathroom with the cracked mirror, until I stood in front of the coat closet at the end of the hall, a place so ordinary it felt stupid to be scared of it. I opened it. Coats swayed gently, though the air was still. Behind them, the back panel looked wrong, newer wood, cleaner edges, a seam that shouldn't have been there. My heart started to pound as if it recognized something my mind refused to accept. I pressed against the panel. It shifted. Not much, just enough to tell me it wasn't part of the original wall. I should have stopped. Any sane person would have closed the closet and walked away. Instead, I grabbed a flashlight and a screwdriver, hands shaking, and pried at the seam until the panel gave way with a soft sigh, like relief. Behind it was darkness, thick and swallowing, and a smell that hit me all at once, dust, old metal, and something sour, like a room that had been holding its breath for decades. I aimed the flashlight inside and saw a narrow passage, barely wide enough for my shoulders, sloping downward. This wasn't a crawlspace. This was intentional. Built. Hidden. My mind raced through explanations, previous owners, panic rooms, bootleg tunnels, but none of them explained why my childhood home had a secret throat leading into itself. I stepped inside. The air grew colder instantly, pressing against my skin like damp fingers. The walls were unfinished wood, scratched with marks that looked too deliberate to be random. As I moved deeper, the passage opened into a small room, maybe 8 by 10 feet, with a low ceiling that made me hunch. The flashlight beam swept across the space and landed on furniture that didn't belong in any normal room, a narrow bed bolted to the floor, a desk with deep grooves carved into it, shelves lined with notebooks, all covered in a fine layer of dust as if time had tried and failed to bury them. My stomach twisted. This wasn't storage. This was a place someone had lived in. I picked up one of the notebooks. The pages were filled with cramped handwriting, dates going back decades, entries written in a frantic, looping script. I read the first line and felt the floor drop out from under me. They don't know I'm here. The house keeps me safe. I flipped pages, heart racing. The writer talked about listening through the walls, learning routines, knowing when it was safe to move, when to stay still. They wrote about my parents, not by name, but by habit, by sound. The man coughs every morning at 6:12. The woman hums when she washes dishes. This wasn't from before we lived there. This was during. My hand started to tremble so hard I almost dropped the notebook. The realization hit me slowly, cruelly. While I grew up in this house, someone else had been living inside it, watching, listening, breathing the same air through hidden gaps. I backed away, my shoulder bumping into the wall, and that was when I noticed the mirror. It was mounted on the far wall, slightly tilted, its surface clouded with age. I raised the flashlight and saw scratches etched into the glass, lines, symbols, words carved so deeply they caught the light. One phrase stood out, written over and over, layered until it was almost unreadable: I belong here. A noise behind me made me spin around, the flashlight swinging wildly. The passage was empty. Silent. I told myself to leave, to call the police, to seal the wall and pretend I'd never found this place. But curiosity has a way of dressing itself up as courage. I noticed something else then, a small vent near the ceiling, its slats angled toward the house. When I stood on the bed and shined the light through it, I saw into my parents' old bedroom. The angle was perfect. Someone could see the entire room from here. The nausea that rose in my throat was sharp and sudden. I climbed down, heart hammering, and that was when the whisper started. Not from the walls this time, but from the room itself, a breathy sound like someone trying to speak without moving their lips. I couldn't make out words at first, just a rhythm, a cadence that felt familiar in the worst way. Then it sharpened, forming syllables that slid into my ears like ice water. You came back. I dropped the flashlight. It rolled across the floor, beam spinning, painting the room in frantic arcs of light and shadow. I stood frozen, every instinct screaming at me to run, but my legs wouldn't listen. I knew you would, the voice continued, closer now, as if it were standing right behind me. The house always brings them back. I spun around. The room was empty. No one there. No movement. Just the mirror, the bed, the notebooks. I laughed, a short, broken sound, telling myself stress was messing with me, grief playing tricks. I picked up the flashlight and that was when I saw the dust on the floor. There were footprints that hadn't been there before, fresh, leading from the passage into the room, stopping inches from where I stood. They were barefoot. Human. I ran. I don't remember making it out of the passage, I don't remember slamming the panel back into place, only the feeling of the house stretching around me, hallways longer than they should be, doors just a little too far apart. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car until dawn, watching the house, half expecting to see a face in one of the windows that had never been there before. In the morning, I called the police. They searched the house, tore open the wall, and crawled through the passage. The hidden room was there, just as I'd seen it. The furniture. The notebooks. The mirror. But no sign of anyone else. No fresh footprints. The officers exchanged looks they tried to hide. One of them, older, quieter, pulled me aside and asked how long I'd lived here as a kid. When I told him, his face tightened. He said the house had a history. Nothing official, nothing you'd find in a quick search. But there had been complaints over the years, neighbors reporting noises, shadows, the feeling of being watched. No evidence. No arrests. Sometimes, he said carefully, people get attached to places. They find ways to stay. After they left, I tried to convince myself it was over. I packed a bag, planned to stay with a friend, told myself I'd sell the house as is and never look back. That night, as I carried my bag toward the door, I heard the knock again, deeper now, closer, like it was coming from right behind the wall. Then my phone buzzed. A notification. A new note, synced somehow to my cloud, though I didn't recognize the app. The title was simple, House Rules. My blood ran cold as I opened it. The text was short, written in the same cramped handwriting I'd seen in the hidden room. Rule 1, don't leave. Rule 2, don't tell them everything. Rule 3, the house chose you. I felt the air shift, heavy and expectant, and in that moment I understood something terrible: the hidden room wasn't abandoned. It was waiting. Waiting for someone who belonged. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, filling the house with a low, constant murmur that sounded almost like breathing. I dropped my bag. I sat down on the floor, back against the wall, and laughed until tears ran down my face because I finally understood why the house felt so familiar, why it had called me back after all these years. It wasn't just my childhood home. It was a living thing, a keeper of secrets, and it didn't like being alone. If you're listening to this right now and you feel that pull, that strange comfort in places that scare you, pay attention, because some stories don't end when you close the door, they wait for you to come back and finish them. And if you want to hear more true feeling stories like this, stories that crawl under your skin and stay there, don't forget to subscribe, because the next one might sound uncomfortably close to home.